Comes across okay and that we actually land where we are supposed to. My name is Zakia Ringgold, and we are going to be doing a vodcast today, and that's video while we are recording a podcast. If you are brand new, my name is Zakia Ringgold. I am the owner of Live Soap School, Natural Soap by Zakia, as well as Virtual Experience Design Agency. And we're using this by Zakia platform, if you will, to kind of share the journey of what it's like to go from a full time employee to a full time business owner. I was someone who dibbled and dabbled in business ownership for about 5 years before I decided to go ahead and bet on myself. Herbal Root Woman over there on YouTube. So very good to have you and to see you. And so I'm hoping that as I share my story, you are either inspired, you can maybe give me some tips on how I can do it better. And then also, if you have some insight on maybe try this or maybe try that, I am all ears. But I guess I'm going to go ahead and start the podcast at this point. Herbal Root Woman, are you able to hear me okay? And your comments are coming right up on screen with me. So that way I'm not looking at 15 different monitors to figure out what it is that you all are saying. So if I can make sure that we actually have sound, we're going to get a little bit of double bubble at this point. Hold on, let's see. Do we have sound? Yes, I can hear you. Hey, Carletta, I can't even just call Carletta the bath bomb queen anymore. She is bath and body queen. If you guys don't know Carletta, she is the owner of Body Candy here in Philadelphia, and she makes incredible skincare products. So I think since I hear, yes, you guys can hear me. We are up to 49 people watching across the platform. So, hello. This will end up on the blog. It will also end up in podcast form. Please do subscribe over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, or Anchor, wherever you listen to podcasts, because they won't always be video. So, I titled this one, The Pressure and Promise of Owning a Business. Um, as I was sitting down to figure out what my Monday was like, my oldest daughter, her bus didn't come. So she ended up driving herself to school today. I also had to do a few errands for my family in terms of getting them where they needed to go. So all those things that I had planned for my Monday had shifted. And the schedule completely changed. But that didn't change the fact that I still needed to update a website, send out invoices, sign contracts, create new proposals for two new projects that are coming up in a few months, as well as update newsletters for the virtual experience design agency company. Aside from that, we are also planning a soft launch for Natural Soap by Zakia. The name is changing. You heard not too much, but it's changing. We're planning a soft launch for that, where people will actually be able to physically come um, November the 28th. So that's happening. And as I started thinking about how I've been juggling these two businesses, the two things that kept coming up for me was the pressure and then the promise of it all. So the pressure is in producing and deciding, taking chances, possibly making mistakes. But for every one of those pressures, there's an equal and opposite promise for all of them. So the pressure of producing, either producing an event, producing a product, producing an outcome, there is also the promise of your own creation as a business owner. Something that you are really, when they say the buck stops here, it truly stops with you and where you are. I had this experience with a virtual event that we produced in May. And I didn't manage that to the best of my ability. I kind of let the people who were behind the scenes with it kind of run with it, even though I knew better, right? I knew better. Like, we have to have these things done at a specific time, because if we don't, it's going to have a negative impact on the overall virtual experience. But I let it go. And what ended up happening was people were not prepared. We were able to recover from it, but it wasn't the best possible experience. So when I say producing as a business owner, it's what is that final product? What is the promise that you have made to either your customers, your clients, your students, whoever those people are? You are under constant pressure to produce. In this whole myth of a 4-hour work week, I am hoping that as we go through this By Zakia podcast and all of that, you start to see that that is a myth and an illusion that is created specifically for those people who are selling you this dream of entrepreneurship, because it is a real dream, but it's not the way that most people make it out to be. I've been doing a lot of sharing in my stories. Those stories, I intentionally don't share more than a combined total of 1 minute and 30 seconds in a day. You are typically seeing 15-minute clips in my story. However, unfortunately, we live in this social media, TikTok, Instagram society where people make a lot of assumptions by what they see in those 90 seconds, that minute and 30 seconds. That's all you're seeing is a glimpse. But there are hundreds and hundreds of minutes throughout the day that are not accounted for. That's that time that I'm spending under pressure. That's that time that I'm actually trying to get the things done. And you all, when you get a chance to see anyone on social media, you're getting that glimpse of what they have decided to share. So, pressure to produce is one of the real things that happens as a business owner. The other side of that is the promise of you creating something, whether or not it's right or wrong, but there is going to be a creation after you have done that thing for your business. Another pressure is decision. And if you're someone who tinkers and totters on making a decision, that is me. You cannot be that way in business. It just does not work for you. It does not work for your clients. It doesn't work for your customers, because they need a decision. And I think John just said it's a lot of fast food entertainment. But depending on what your business is, you are making decisions every day on um, where your business is going to go or what the next thing is going to be. One of the decisions I had to make was what was going to be our brand new logo, right? Because we're rebranding Natural Soap by Zakia. And I had a conversation with a marketing expert. Um, and one thing to really consider when you are speaking to specialists, experts, coaches, they are there to guide. And one thing that someone very near and dear to me, she was a student in live soap school, said to me was, um, you have to go with what your gut is. They are there giving you from their lens and their perspective. But ultimately, it's your vision that they may or may not be aware of. And you have to go by that. And I'm seeing that I'm getting a little blurry. I'm not doing anything with my camera. I think it's trying to autofocus, but I do apologize. So the decision is the pressure in the decision making is this going to be right or wrong for my business, which can cause analysis paralysis, where you're analyzing left, right, center, middle, up, down, if it's the right way to go. And in case you don't know, indecision is also a decision. Not making a decision in your business can be costly as well. So the pressure to make a decision is really, really critical in life. Not even if you're a business owner, you have to decide, am I going to send my kids to this school or that school? Are you going to eat this for breakfast or that for lunch? Am I going to work out today? Am I not going to work out today? Am I going to send that email because the boss has gotten on my last good nerve and they need to hear how I feel? Normally, we all go by that 24-hour rule, some of us, and in our paperwork. They're giving you their expectations based on their knowledge, not based on how you feel about your own product and what it is that your business stands for. So it's the pressure to produce, the pressure to decide, and ultimately it's the pressure to take a chance. Take a chance on, do you really, really believe that what it is that you're doing is the best thing for you? And the spoiler alert in all of this is the only best decision is the one that you make. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it's either going to teach you something or it's going to fuel you in another direction or keep you going in the direction. And then that making mistakes, you really, really have to be in a mindset where you're going to learn from every one of those mistakes. So when I mentioned, I had that one client in May where I just let them kind of run away with the project. And that caused sleepless nights, 21-hour days, work and rework for me. So in order for me to learn from that mistake is I sat with how that made me feel. I sat with, if they only would have listened, this could have all been avoided. But you can't stop there. You then have to put processes in place so that that particular thing that is gnawing at your side does not have the opportunity to come back up again. So what did I do? I created new language in my contract around timelines. I created a project management system where it was very transparent on who was able to do what and when it was due by. And then everyone would see it, and we would have weekly meetings to ensure that none of those things that we were saying were going to have the opportunity to be lost. As a business owner, so we're talking about pressure and promise. So I think there's four P's as a business owner. One of them is there's this P thing that has been bothering me all day. There's this P word, but when I started thinking about it, I wrote presence. So what is your business presence? Who are you? What does your business mean? When people see it, how do they feel? Packaging. How are you packaging it up? If it's a completely online thing or if it's a physical product. I happen to have both, which means I'm pulling my hair out and learned the number one lesson, which is as a business owner, or even as a mom, or even as a dad, you cannot do it all by yourself. You have got to enlist the help of those around you and build a very solid support system. So we have presence, we have packaging, we have pricing. How are we going to price it? And then there's also the promotion of it all. Now, we do live in a social media society, but I will tell you that social media is not the be all end all. I know some business owners who have never made a social media post and have made over $500,000 in the last year in their business. However, it is a very low barrier to entry with your business. And if you are someone that's brand new, you don't have a following, and you're trying to get people to know about a product or service that you have, social media is a way for you to do that without having a middleman in there. So, what is the pressure and the promise of it all? The pressure is no matter what it is that you are doing in life, there are always going to be challenges. You can always take those challenges and convert them into opportunities or lessons learned overall. And so, one thing that I am doing now is establishing a routine as well as schedules for everything that is on my plate. I was looking at this to do list that I had today, and it said, and I'm going to read them off again because I was just writing them down because that's typically how I start my day. There's two websites that need to be updated. There's one invoice that needs to be sent. There's two invoices that need to be followed up on. There's one speaker contract that I still need to sign so that I can speak on another person's platform. There is two proposals that need to go out for events in February and April. There's also a newsletter that I need to send as an organizational director for another organization. None of that has to do anything with the natural skincare. And because I didn't necessarily have a plan, I was easily taken off track because we are now at 12:12 in the afternoon and my to-do list hasn't been done. And podcasting was one of them. I am committing to doing a podcast every single week so that it becomes routine, just like the live streaming did back in the day. So, what I want you to do is figure out what are those pressures that may be masking themselves as fear that are preventing you from moving one step closer to whatever your goal is. And no matter if it's I was about to say something which would be completely inaccurate. If it's a non-revenue generating, it's not a business. But no matter what it is that your goal is, there is going to be pressure and promise with it. The thing is that you have to look it in the face, acknowledge it, and figure out what the opposite of that pressure is and work towards that. Don't be paralyzed by making a decision. Don't worry on who will or won't accept what it is that you produce because ultimately you have created something. And then taking chances. The bigger the risk, the bigger the reward. Also, the harder they fall. I don't know how many of you are watching that on Netflix, but that's a great bit movie. So if you haven't seen The Harder They Fall, I do recommend that you check it out. But whatever. Sidebar, squirrel. And then as you are going along in your business, think about what is your presence? How are you packaging it? Why are you pricing it a certain way? And then ultimately, how are you going to promote it or have others be cheerleaders and ambassadors for what it is that you do? I'm Zakia Ringgold. This is the By Zakia podcast. I'm going to end it here, but make sure that you do like, subscribe, share, follow, and then talk back to me on the blog on what it is that you have found to be pressures as well as promises for your business. Okay, so I clapped there so I would know where to end the podcast. But this is a VODCAST, you could call it. I see Marlene is here from Moonglow Soaps. Hey, hey, hey. I can't. I'm switching platforms, guys, so I don't necessarily have the same features in terms of pulling your comments up, but they're already there. I saw you all out of the corner of my eye. It was the hardest thing to not respond as you all were talking. But Mauricio from Mexico is saying, hello, how are you? D is saying, thank you. This was so needed. You are very, very welcome. And what I'm finding is, particularly as a business owner, we always think that it's only us. Nobody else could possibly be going through this. And what I'm finding is more and more, we all have very similar challenges. It may be in different industries, it may be in different areas of our life, but ultimately, it's all in our own perspective and how we take those challenges. I was suffering from something that most people would say is no challenge at all. I had too much business where I wasn't able to get proposals and contracts out fast enough, where people would ask for them and it would be a week later before I could get to them because I was in the middle of production. And so really taking the time to figure out what are those fears that are slowing us down, what are those pressures, and then changing our mindset to what are the promises of those pressures. I've been producing bar soap, liquid soap, whip soap, herbal salves, lotion, body oil. I've been producing all of this stuff. And then I get a chance to kind of look back and see, look what I've created. The hard part is labeling. I hate labels. I hate packaging. And so instead of what I did was I looked at that and I said, you know what? I don't want to do it. I'm just going to give that to someone else so that it doesn't hinder me from doing what I need to do. Speaking of Natural Soap by Zakia, you will be seeing the new branding unveiled probably throughout the week. We're just finalizing a few things. The website is live for naturalsoapbyzakia.com. You can go there and pre-order everything. However, We are hosting an in-person pop-up on November the 28th. That's right after Black Friday. So if you place an order or you get a gift card, you'll actually get a special gift if you are picking it up locally. We will start promoting it a lot more because we have a lot of products. If you order because you are not local, we will be shipping those out all next week. We are trying to have all orders shipped out before Black Friday. That's the goal. Andrea is saying, thank you, Zakia. Much needed and great advice. I'm so glad it was helpful. Now, what I have to do is go into Anchor, download this video. So, this is all the things, right? It's like, oh, well, you just did a podcast. There are various pieces to it. So, now I'm going to have to download this particular video. I'm going to have to cut off that beginning part where I was introducing myself and then this last part here. Then I'm going to have to upload that, create some artwork for it, and then have it loaded onto the website with a transcript. And it will be available in Spanish and French. So you'll hear Zakia's voice in Spanish or French, which is pretty cool. And there will be a transcript for it. But there's so many things, and that's going to take about an hour. So after I do it once or twice, 3 times, then I'm going to figure out a system to automate it or make it shorter so that I can hand it off to an assistant to be able to do that. Because spending an hour to 2 hours on something, probably, or on like administrative kind of things, is not the best use of my time. So really understanding what really requires you to be there to do it versus something that you can hand off to someone else is really, really important. Like I'm not really required to make the soap, but I'm going to say do as I say, not as I do with it. I'm always going to make the soap. It's something about it. I think it unlocks some creativity for me. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I am going to enjoy chopping it up, watching it again. And if you are team replay, let me know what you think. I put some lipstick on for you all. I put on a little bit of mascara. I didn't do any foundation, but I need to do some. I'll do some, but the sun is shining, 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 shining. But I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me live. It is lunchtime for me right about now. So I hope you all enjoyed our very first inaugural VODCAST. And be sure to subscribe on Apple, Google, maybe even Amazon. All right, everybody.